That's crazy. All right. I guess we're just going to talk because the technology is not allowing us to do anything besides talk. Maybe I can the music is working, so solar energy. All right. So here's what I want you to know. I'm going to answer these questions that people sent me from Facebook. So I said, hey, if I did a workshop about how we switched to solar, what would you want to know? So someone said the discussions I most often have when people find out I have solar is around how to figure out whether it makes sense financially, will you pay more or less in the end, and also about the nuances between net metering, grid connected versus islandable, and the economics of batteries. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the big thing, which is will I pay more to go solar? Will I save money? Will I break even? So basically, what I was trying to write is that you want to replace the amount of energy that you use. So what happened here at the Peanut Butter Palace is we looked at our bills from 2019, because that's when there was a full house here. And we said that we average about $200 a month worth of energy. And so if I could show you a screenshot of a calculator, I would show you that, I'm going to pull this up here. So in Orlando on Duke energy is 14.5 cents a kilowatt hour. So if I have $200 a month at 14.5 cents a kilowatt hour, you can't probably see that freaking either, but the answer is almost 1,400 kilowatt hours a month. So if you could see the whiteboard, I would write 1,400 kilowatt hours a month. If somebody on this stream knows how to get my screen share to work, hit me up. Shoot, yeah. So 1,400 kilowatt hours a month is about what we were running. And so multiply that by 12. And we were looking to offset about 16,551 kilowatt hours a year. So that's the total amount of energy that we use in a year. Dang, I need something to write on. That's okay. You can just watch me pull my hair out about this for the next 10 minutes. Yeah, I still don't know what to do about that. So, all right. So basically, you got how much energy you make for the year. We found that number, and then we said how many panels is going to offset that. And there's some really fancy ways that you can figure out how many panels it's going to take to offset how much energy you need. But there's also a really simple little formula that pretty much works most of the time, unless you have shade issues or something like that. So that formula, and I would put this on the screen if my screen share was working. I'll do another one of these with the screen share working. So you might want to click off of this one, but I'm going to go through it and just keep it moving. The formula is 5.2 times 0.8. And let me go through what these are. So 5.2 is the number of peak sun hours in Florida, Orlando, Miami, around this, distance from the equator. We get about 5.2. We get the equivalent of 5.2 peak sun hours per day. So you can just know that as a constant. If you're in Florida, you can use 5.2, and then times 0.8. 0.8 is just a measure of efficiency. So we're going to multiply this all together. So basically you're saying 5.2 times, so the amount of sun times the amount of efficiency times the number of panels, basically, times how many watts the panels are. So here we had 340 watt panels, and we had 29 of them. And so you can multiply the number of panels times the number of watts, and you can get the size of the system. So if you're ever shopping for solar, you're pretty much always going to be shopping for kilowatts, which is just the number of panels times the wattage of the panel. So our system was a 9.86 kilowatt system. But if you're trying to figure out how big your system was, you could just plug some numbers in and guess and try to, or you could do the equation backwards is probably the right way to do it. So we said 5.2 peak sun hours times a 0.8 efficiency, so 80% efficiency, times basically 9.86 kilowatts. So we're going to do 9,860 watts, and then times 365, because it's going to be operational every day, let's assume. So 5.2 times 0.8 times 9860 times 365. So that is 14,971. And that's compared to the like 16,551 that we were looking for. So using this formula, we might want to, I don't know, add a few panels to get this to be a little bit higher. But I think that's good. I think that's like close enough. Yeah. So when you go to a solar company and you say, the first thing they're going to ask you for is they're going to say, we need to see your last 12 months of bills. If they're a good solar company, they're going to want to actually see your last 12 months of bills. So some solar companies will just be like, well, how much is your power bill usually? And if you're like, oh, like, $100 or whatever, and they're like, okay, cool, here's a system that's going to produce $100 worth of electricity per month. That's not a super great way to decide how many panels. You really need to see the individual bills usually, because it's a big investment to kind of make, and it's worth it to like go into the last, 12 bills and get like the real number instead of just being like, oh, like about $100 worth of electricity. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so we've got, so here we have a 9.86 kilowatt system. And so what that means is 29 panels on the roof. And I would show you a picture if I was able to screen share. And so anyway, the question was, like, how do I know if I'm going to pay more or not? Right. So that comes down to the price per watt. And this is really confusing, and I wish it wasn't done like this. I wish it was phrased like the price per panel, because I think for me, the first time I was shopping for solar, is a lot easier to think like, how much does it cost per panel versus how much does it cost per watt? But it's really the same thing. So if we say we had like a 9.86 kilowatt system, you could probably get solar these days for like, say, $2 a watt, right? And so if I look at, like, say I go to Tesla Energy and I see what their price is on, let me see if they'll say their price on the website. Usually Tesla last year went down to like $1.90 a watt. And so usually you should be able to find solar for like somewhere between $2 and $2.50, but I would think more than often it's going to be closer to $2. But like Tesla, I think you can get like $1.90 a watt, which is pretty cool. So, but the thing about Tesla is like their customer service has been like terrifying. So like if you go look at reviews of people who have gone solar with Tesla, it's like apparently like a horrifying experience. But let's use like $2 a watt as an example, right? Okay, so we said we need $200 worth of energy a month. That's what we're spending already. And we're going to get that much with, like, let's call it a 10 kilowatt system just to make it even. So we're going to say 10 kilowatt system, which is like 29 or 30 panels or something like that. And then the price is going to be $2 a watt. And like, I would definitely screen share this with you and you'd be able to see the way I'm writing this formula out. But you can't, because you can't see anything because my computer's not screen sharing. So $2 a watt at 10 kilowatts is just $20,000. So the cash price for solar would be $20,000 with a 10 kilowatt at $2 a watt. So $20,000 is a bunch of money, but let's look at how that breaks down. So usually the warranted lifespan of solar is 25 years. So you're going to have warranties that guarantee Your production is going to be like usually at least 80% more of the time. Like year 25, they warranty that your panels will be still kicking out like 85% of what they originally do. So they do degrade annually, but it's like they can only degrade by like 0.5% per year, or else you can call in the warranty on them and they have to like come replace them apparently. So I've never done that, but basically the idea is that you want to assume these are going to basically produce what they are supposed to for like 25 years. So if you look at $200 a month, we're just doing this really simple. Like if you say $200 a month, 12 months in a year times 25 years, that's $60,000 and you're paying $20,000. But of course there's like more detail to go into for that. So number one, there's a 22% tax credit, and with the Biden administration coming in, I would not be surprised if in the next, like, I don't know, 6 months or a year or something like that, they either bring the tax credit back to 30% where it used to be, or they come up with some other like crazy incentive to get solar going faster. Yeah. So, but anyway, right now it's 22%. So our gross cost was $20,000, and now we're going to go times 0.78, and then that makes our net cost like almost like so $15,600. So that's $15,000 or $16,000. So let's talk about the tax credit for a second. So the tax credit is not a rebate; it's only a credit. So it only means that means it only benefits you if you owe income tax. And it does roll over. So if you can't use 100% of it in the first year, then you can roll the balance of that over to the next year. But if you are like retired, or you don't have a job, or you're, like whatever the case is, if you for some reason don't owe taxes, then you won't get any money back. So not everybody is going to be qualified for that tax credit, and that makes a big difference. That's like a 25% or 22% difference in how much it costs. So, but let's assume that you get the 22% tax credit and you get like $4,400 off, and now your net cost is $15,600, right? So, this is if you pay cash. We're going to talk about if you finance it later. So basically you can get like, this is kind of complex because it degrades every year. So you're going to produce a little bit less energy each year, like 0.5% less energy each year. And the other thing is that utility rates tend to go up like 3% a year. So you're going to lose 0.5% of energy a year, but the utility rate on average is going to go up 3% a year. So over time, the idea is that your solar system would become more valuable because you're producing energy that you otherwise would have to pay 3% more for. So anyway, not to get too far down in the weeds, but basically, let's just say like, 15,600, 1,600. So that's how much the solar system cost you. And you're going to get $200 a month. And that's going to be like 6.5 years to pay that back. And that's like not assuming any inflation and not assuming any degradation. So that's just like a really simple way to do it. But basically, like, you're going to be in the like 5 to 7 year range of payback, typically at $2 a watt at least. Yeah. So that's cash. So anyway, it's probably like better than 12% return on investment if you were to get 25 years out of it. So anyway, that's like if you're paying cash and you're trying to like figure out what to put money in, that's like a good investment vehicle, then that's the upside of solar, is that you're probably going to make, at least 12% on your money for as long as people are living in that house and would otherwise be buying energy. Once it's paid off, it's still going to be producing 80-85% of its capacity. So even after the 25 years, like, there's still a lot of benefit that it can generate. But yeah, so that's that. Now, what happens if you finance it? So the payment that we got offered to us for this house, if we had financed it, I think was like 130, I want to say. So we would have gone for $0 down. We would have gone from paying $200 a month to paying $130 a month. So we would have had like a $70 a month savings by switching to solar for this house. It might have been like $135, so maybe it was like a $65 a month savings. But that's like pretty significant if it had gotten financed for $0 down. So nothing out of pocket. You just start paying your financing payment instead of paying the utility company for energy each month. And then that's how that works. So typically when you shop for solar, your salesperson is going to ask you really early on, do you want cash or finance? And the reason for that is that usually the cash price and the finance price are different. So the cash price is always going to be less than the finance price. And basically what happens is they charge you a pretty big fee to finance. So they'll be like, yeah, cool, we'll finance it and we'll give you a great rate. Like your rate could be like 1.5%, 2%, 3%, 4%. But they're going to charge you like a 20% or 25% fee. So like, you know, if you're financing 20 grand or something like that, then you're going to have to pay like 25 grand. Like that's how much the contract is for, is like 25 grand. So like you have to pay more off, but you're going to get like a lower interest rate. And it's kind of cool because like if you have to pay more off, then when you get the tax credit for like 22%, you get 22% of like that bigger number. So if you can trade a bigger contract cost for a lower APR, then that can kind of work in your favor. But basically it's just like you're going to pay a lot to get a low interest rate because these are unsecured loans most of the time. And so like for an unsecured loan, if you didn't pay a fee, then the real interest rate would be like 7, 8, 9% or something like that. And so in order to get that really attractive APR that's like really marketable, you know, they want to offer that like 1, 2, 3% APR, you're going to pay a huge fee on that because it's unsecured. So like no one's going to come take the panels down if you default or whatever. I mean, it'll like hurt your credit or whatever, but they're not going to lien the house. And so for that reason, it's like a much higher interest rate. Yeah. So, but anyway, all that is just to say, like the bottom line is if you paid $2 a watt for a 10 kilowatt system that produced $200 worth of energy a month, then if you paid cash, you'd pay it back in like 6.5 years or something like that. And then you'd have 20, you know, like you'd have like the next 18.5 years or whatever for being able to have, you know, free energy. And if you financed it, then you probably are looking at saving, you know, 30, 40% on your energy costs, because we were going to pay $200 a month, and then it went down to $135 a month. And that $200 a month is an average for the year, because obviously like July and August, you're going to use a lot more energy. Like the fall and the spring, you're going to use less energy. So in Florida, all of this is just for Florida. So anyway, that's to answer the question about if it makes sense financially. So, all right, what are some other questions here? Previous cost per kilowatt versus new cost per kilowatt. That's the real cost comparison. Yeah, so this question is saying, I think they're talking about per kilowatt hour. They're saying previous cost per kilowatt versus new cost per kilowatt. And I think they mean previous, like before solar, and then new cost per kilowatt after solar. But you don't pay per kilowatt when you pay the utility, you pay per kilowatt hour. And so I think what this question is really asking is like, for Duke Energy right now, we pay 14.5 cents per kilowatt hour. And so like 14.5 cents. And then let's say like we financed it just so that it's like a monthly payment. So it can be like apples to apples. And I think we were talking about like roughly 15,000 kilowatt hours, and that was like 135 divided by 15,000. So now we're looking at like 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So we'd be going down from like 14.5 cents per kilowatt hour to like 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So there's that question. Someone posted how good it feels when you get a $20 power bill. That's dope. I wonder if anybody's leaving any comments on this video. What do we got here? I can see your number on the phone. Nice. Go Tesla Energy. Woo! J Guitar. Doesn't solar typically make a lot more than you use so that you can sell kilowatt hours back to the power company that are extra? Yeah, Jake, for real. That is what happens. So, Jake, what you're talking about is something called net metering. And so it's really controversial right now with the PSC and the utilities. But basically, so it's getting dark right now outside. And as it gets dark, the solar panels produce less and less energy. But like I'm going to go make food in the kitchen after this or whatever. And so I'm still going to need energy, even though there's going to be no sunshine out, to be able to provide solar energy. So how do you do that? I'm going to make this camera brighter. Hang on one second. So basically when you go solar, you're going to calculate, you're going to get the right number of panels for how much energy you need to produce. So that you can produce all of the kilowatt hours that you need for the year, but you're not always going to produce those kilowatt hours when you need them. So if I could share my screen, I would show you like a really cool graphic that illustrates this, but it's really simple. Like you're going to make if you didn't have this thing called net metering, which I'm going to talk about in a second, the problem that net metering solves is that you would make a bunch of energy during the day and then you would have no energy at night. Batteries are really expensive and they're getting cheaper fast, but they're still really expensive. So basically what net metering is like this house, the way that it works is we produce more energy than we need during the afternoon. And then we sell that energy to the utility. Basically they give us credits for it. And then like, so for last month we had like 500 kilowatt hours that we had credits for, something like that, maybe 600 kilowatt hours. And it's like rollover minutes kind of, like if you bank them this month, then we can use them the rest of the year whenever we need them. And so, but the same thing happens for day and night. So it's month to month as well as like day and night. So if we produce more during the day, that's great, because then at night when there's no solar, we're going to consume that energy that basically we got credits for. So export energy during the day, the utility gives you credits for it. Then at night, you pull that energy off the grid and you spend those credits. So you're able to kind of like buy and sell with the utility. And it makes it possible to not have to have batteries. So let's go like another level deeper about this, right? So if everybody did net metering, like say everybody went solar tomorrow, which would not be possible, but just for the purposes of this, let's say that like everybody was solar, right? So everybody's producing energy during the day, like the coal plants and stuff, like natural gas, no one needs that energy during the day because we're producing tons of electricity. And then at night, none of us are producing any solar, and that's like peak hours. So we're consuming a lot. Everybody's getting home from work, cooking, turning the air on, like getting ready for bed, all that kind of stuff. So like all the coal plants and natural gas plants have to turn on at night, and they don't run during the day. They only run at night, and they have to have enough natural gas and coal plants to be able to power everyone's houses at night. But all those plants sit unused during the day. So it's really expensive. So like, it's like if everybody was like that, then it would cost a lot more for us to get energy at night from coal and natural gas, because they wouldn't be able to run those plants during the day. And it'd be like a big waste of building these really expensive plants. So anyway, this is the problem. Like as we scale up the amount of solar, then net metering gets more and more stressful, because you have increased production during the day, and then you have increased demand at night. And so this is where batteries come in. And so as we start to move forward, there's like lots of batteries in electric vehicles. There's batteries that people are buying for their homes so that when there's like a hurricane or some kind of outage, people can be protected. But those batteries can also be charged and discharged to help regulate usage. And this isn't happening right now, but as we get closer and closer to where net metering is capped out, where no more people can do net metering, then batteries will become more and more relevant, because we'll need to offset that time between when the energy is produced and when it's consumed. And so, it's really interesting right now, because the utilities are required to allow net metering, but it just like every so often it comes back up that the utilities try to get net metering to go away because it's really not in the utilities' interest, or so they think. So there's some really good examples of like islands that can show us probably what our future is like for Florida and for the United States. And these islands are good examples because their grids are much smaller. So the other thing is it's a lot more expensive to produce energy on an island because you have to transport these fossil fuels, like whatever you want to burn, to transport it to the island. And then you just have a small island that needs a whole power plant. Whereas solar, you can have solar panels and those can, be there and people can just produce what they need. And there's a hurricane and it damages the transmission lines and it damages the power, so anyway, energy is much more expensive on islands. The grids are much smaller. And so it's kind of like, it's a great model for like what's going to happen in the future for us, like on the mainland. And so what I've heard is that typically when 15% of a population on an island has solar, then it's no longer possible to continue to add additional net metering. It's too much strain on the grid to have more than 15% of the population net metering. So the idea is that net metering will get capped around 15% saturation of solar. So all the people right now, we're probably at like 1% saturation of solar, at least in Florida. And so there's like an opportunity for a bunch more people to get grandfathered into net metering. But the issue is that this will run out at some point. And so right now, as we just saw, it's very profitable to go solar because you're saving money compared to paying the utility. And the utilities know this. And this is why you see lots of solar farms popping up all over the place, is because the utilities want to absorb as much of that 15%. They want as big a slice of the pie as they can of that net metering 15%. And so homeowners don't really realize that there's this opportunity right now to be able to get grandfathered into net metering, and the utilities are building out solar farm after solar farm to try to take as much advantage of that opportunity as they can. And so anyway, yeah, that's the story on net metering. And I think batteries are the big variable there. So battery technology and cost is like really, really developing really quickly. And it's going to be super duper necessary. Like right now, solar is cheaper, but when you factor in the cost of batteries, solar is more expensive. And so we're going to for sure see what happens here. Yeah, cool. Let me see what other questions we got. Great breakdowns on net metering and behind the net metering models for solar. Cool. So they think until they see the batteries plus storage will actually make the grid more resilient. Yeah, there's definitely an argument that the costs. So it's a really clear argument that like the costs of a vulnerable grid amidst increasing natural disasters is an exorbitant cost. So the cost of doing nothing is definitely higher than the cost of switching to renewable energy, even given the cost of batteries. But that is such a huge scale that I think most homeowners aren't thinking about that. It's just that it's like, well, my energy is really cheaper if I get it from the utility, so I'm not going to worry about like going solar and batteries. If I have to get batteries, I'm just not going to go solar. So at some level that's true, but I think for the homeowner, it'll really only make sense for them if they can net meter. So batteries as a luxury, like people can be able to use batteries to have other benefits, like when a storm comes or whatever. But as far as the cost penciling out, it really doesn't work unless it's just solar. So, okay. What else? How beneficial is it for people who only plan to stay in their home for less than 5 years? This is a super great question. I don't know the answer to that. I think there have been studies that show, like in California, that solar increases the value of the house more than the cost of the solar. So basically, like if you invest in, say you put $20,000 into solar for your home, it might increase your home value $30,000 worth. And the reason for that is because it's a good investment. So like solar is an opportunity, and it's going to be cash flow positive. And so if you have a solar system and you paid, less than $3 a watt or something like that, then that you're going to pass on that great investment to the next homeowner. And so, yeah, that in other places where solar is farther along, it's definitely a great investment for your home. In Florida, we're just like way behind. So the market is not really as aware of what solar is. So it's really unclear. Like, I think if you had somebody, if you had an appraiser who's like green certified and who understands how solar works and is going to give you fair value for it, then I think you could get an appraisal, including the solar panels, that reflects the value that you paid for the solar. And it's something that should be able to be substantiated, right? Like if you pay for granite countertops in your kitchen, I've heard someone say, like, that's kind of a preference. I mean, it's like an upgrade, but it doesn't like print money, whereas like solar panels like kind of print money up on your roof. And so you can say like, cool, we've had 3 years of this creating energy. We've de-risked it a little bit. We've shown that this works. So this is really like objectively valuable because it's saving overhead every month. And so there needs to be some value attributed to this improvement we've made to this home. And so from that standpoint, I think it's reasonable to expect to get something for the panels as time goes by. This is the reason why it's a really good question about in the next like 5 years. The more time that you give for the market here to become more mature, I think the more you'll get like a fair evaluation for the panels. I think right now, like if I was going to sell a house in a year, I probably wouldn't go solar just because the market's not super mature right now. And I think it would be difficult to find buyers who didn't find it overly complicating to consider solar and what they wanted to pay for it. So there might be people that just don't want to deal with it, and they might be interested in, not even really exploring it because it can be complicated. Because you kind of have to, anyway, like, it's an interesting question. I think it will become easier over time, but I think right now it's probably undervalued in the market, and I don't know how long it'll take to become valued properly. Okay, so how beneficial is solar if your power bill is already low? 10 to 20 years to start saving money seems questionable. Cool. Yeah, this is a really good question. So, yeah, and so this person said you can also retrofit batteries later. That's true. So this is back on the other question. I was just looking at the YouTube chat. You can always retrofit batteries later. That's true. And I think that electric vehicles will play a role in the grid as well, because like my car has 50 kilowatt hours of battery storage in it, and a like Powerwall, which is like, I don't know, $5,000-$10,000 now, is like 13.5 kilowatt hours. So you could see that as being like anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 worth of batteries that's like in my electric car. So the battery thing is to be determined for sure. Okay, jumping back over to the question about what if your power bill is already low, 10 to 20 years to start saving seems questionable. Cool. So, so if your power bill is low, you just need less panels. So it doesn't mean that that's all it means, is that you need less panels to offset how much energy you consume. And so solar companies will probably give you a slightly better price if you're buying a bigger system. I think like normally I think it's, in my experience, like 5 kilowatts is kind of the low end of the spectrum. So 5 kilowatts times 5.2 times 0.8 times 365 times. So that's like 7592 times 0.1. So that's like $92 a month up here, 5 kilowatt system. So, and that's average. So, okay, so you have like fixed costs and variable costs in the cost of a solar system. So you're going to have, so your fixed costs are going to be like engineering the system, getting it permitted. Like those are going to be, the permitting is going to be the biggest fixed cost, because if you're permitting a 5 kilowatt system or I don't know, maybe like say like a 10 kilowatt system, the permitting process is going to be the same. It's really long. It really sucks. Engineering is probably going to be pretty similar, but it's going to cost, so anyway, so there's those fixed costs like that are like engineering, permitting. There's probably some other things in that category. And so if you get a bigger system, then you are going to save a little bit because those things still only have to be done once and you're getting twice as many panels. So those fixed costs are kind of what they are. The variable costs are like the number of inverters, the number of panels, the sales commission, so there's like a lot of stuff in there that is variable cost and will scale. So like you may have more luck getting below $2 a watt if you're buying like, like more than 7 kilowatts or something like that. But like, I would only see like, I think you could still get like $2.20 a watt or something at 5 kilowatts. So like maybe 20-30 cents a watt. So so you're only looking at like, maybe $1,500 difference, which is like substantial, but a smaller system is not like night and day. It's like, it's kind of like you buy more of something, you get like 10-20% off or something like that. 20% off is probably more than it. Yeah. So yeah, even small systems, like I would say if your power bill is above an average of $50 a month, if you can find a company that will give you somewhere around $2 a watt for like a 3, 4, or 5 kilowatt, somewhere in there, then you could probably make it work. If it's below like $50, $60, $70, then it may be harder to find a company that wants to come out and do such a small system. And they may try to give you some price that reflects they don't really want to do the job. But that being said, like it'd be a lot easier to pay cash on a 5 kilowatt system. You're looking at 10 grand. And then after the tax credit, you're looking at like, $7,800 or something like that. So it's a lot easier than something that's like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a bigger system. So, yeah. And so let's just do the numbers on like a 5 kW for like how long it would take to pay back cash. So if it was a 5 kW at say $2.20 a watt, at $2.20 a watt, then that would be like $11,000. And then there's other things that go into this, but to just keep this really simple, reduce let's take degradation out of the equation and take inflation out of the equation, and let's just say $11,000, and it's gonna create I forget how much we said. I think $90 worth of electricity. $11,000, $90 of electricity a month divided by 12 months in a year. So that would take you like 10 years to pay back. So there's that. So yeah, that would be the difference. You're going from like 6.5 years of payback to 10 years of payback. So yeah, and they said 10 to 20 years to start saving money seems questionable. I think you could finance it and save money right off the bat. So like the nice thing about financing is if you're like, dang, I don't like the idea of taking 10 years to recoup, then if you finance it, then your total cost of ownership is higher, but you don't have to put any money down and you just start saving money right away. And so, yeah, basically you could probably, instead of paying $90 a month, you could maybe pay 70, 75 and save a little bit of money a month. But the real thing there is that you're insulated from inflation. So especially if, this is like not necessarily going to happen, but if there's any kind of price on carbon that happens, or just the utility inflation that we normally see, which is at least 3%, then you're not using any of your own money and you're saving, $15, $20 a month, plus you're insulating yourself from inflation, going forward. So there is still like, some upside there. And we've talked about like the upside part of it, but let's talk about like the risk part of it, right? Because it's definitely possible to like pretty easily finance and save money starting with $0 down, but obviously you're taking on a lot of liability potentially, or like you could see it as that. But I would argue that that it's pretty de-risked. So usually you're going to have like 5 warranties. You're going to have a warranty on the, like, that your panels will work. And then you're going to have a warranty on how well they work. So they're like 2 separate warranties. One of them says like these panels will not blow up and stop working. And then the other one says these panels will continue to work at like, you know, this % efficiency, you know, and only degrade by this much every year. So you're not only guaranteed that they're going to work, you're guaranteed that they're going to work to like a very high predictable level. You're going to have an inverter warranty. So the warranty on the inverter is typically 12 or 25 years, and you can usually upgrade it to 25 years. If it's 12 years, you can upgrade it to 25 for like $500 or something like that. And so that inverter warranty, the inverter is what's going to take the DC current from your roof and turn it into energy that your home can use, and that can, you know, just be like the regular energy from your house. And so that inverter is like super duper important. It's kind of like the brain. And it's also where you're going to monitor your panels. So your inverter is going to be able to see if you have I'm kind of getting on a tangent right now, but like just to talk about inverters for a second, if you have string inverters, those are like Christmas lights, and you can't monitor panels at the individual level. You can only monitor strings of panels. And if like shade, you know, goes over one of the panels, then all of them drop to the lowest common denominator. But if you have like micro inverters where there's like an inverter underneath each panel, a lot of people like love those, but the other option is to be able to have power optimizers. So basically you have one inverter, but you have these optimizers underneath each panel, and the idea is just have less parts that can go wrong. You know, they're simpler. The optimizers are simpler than having an inverter underneath each panel, but you still get the panel level optimization. It's actually probably a little bit stronger. And then you get the monitoring. So like I can look on my phone right now and I can pull up the real-time production of the panels on the roof here. So this is actually my mom's system. Well, hang on, let me see if I can pull up. Dang, I'm not logged into the one here, but anyway, like you can look on your phone and you can see like all the panels, and you can see how much they're producing basically in real time, which is pretty awesome. So hang on one second. Cool. And then what else? So talk about inverters for a second. So you can have a warranty on your inverter. You can have a warranty on the panel. You can have 2 warranties on your panels. You're really going to have 2 warranties on your inverter as well. It's like the inverter will keep working, and then the monitoring also has like a separate warranty, but it's software. So maybe it's like on the communications part of it, the part that like sends it to the internet. And then you're going to have a bunch of warranties from your installation company. So you're usually going to have a workmanship warranty that says that like they did everything correctly. Then you're probably going to have a separate roof penetration warranty, which basically says like if we screwed up your roof, then we're going to take responsibility for that. And then basically a service warranty that says like if any of the products breaks, that we'll swap them out for free for some period of time. So what you really want is you want to get 25 years on each of those, and you want to get it from a company that you think is legit, and that you think is going to stay around. Because if they go out of business, then they can't honor your warranty, which is one of the nice things about Tesla. But that being said, getting Tesla to make good on some promises seems like it's been really difficult. So you could definitely consider a local contractor. But like Tesla, Sunrun, you know, some of these companies are maybe more likely to be around longer just because of their size. So that's one benefit, is that they may be more likely to be around to service your warranty. Cool. Any other questions on here? Let me see what we got. Yeah, I hope that helped. It's really interesting, like live streaming like this. I don't do a ton of it. And it's really boring to just like talk by myself over and over again. So I hope I haven't been too like boring, but nonetheless, that is how it goes. So anyway, yeah, that's really all I can think about. I mean, if you're looking for a contractor in your area, I might know one. If you have a proposal that you would like me to look over for you, I'd be happy to do that. Oh, you know what? If you watch this, I have a shirt. I just got shirts printed, and I went to the thrift shop and I bought a bunch of like used shirts from the thrift shop so that it was like more sustainable. And I printed my design on those shirts, and they're all like really unique, and I think they're really cool. So if you would like a shirt, I would be happy to send you one for free for watching this. So if you've stayed this long, send me a message and say what's up, and I will send you a free shirt. And I can I can't show you what they look like. I would show you. Hit me up. I'll send you a picture since I can't screen share, and I've been complaining about that the entire time, so thanks for bearing with me. I don't know what to do about that, but I had all these graphics planned I was going to show you and really make stuff clear another time. So anyway, thanks for watching this, and I hope you learned something, and hit me up if you got any cues. And Jake Quinter says, I want a thrift shirt. And I will get you one, Jake, because you're the best, because you've come to this before and sat on here with me and hung out. And Dreddle32, I want to know your name. I keep like wanting to say Dreddle as if that's your name, and I'm not sure if it is. I suspect it may not be. But anyway, it's been really fun talking through the stuff. I love it. I've been considering panels for my home. This is a great explainer before meeting with solar companies. That's so great. I'm super glad that you got benefit out of this. Let me know what area you're in, and if you have a proposal that you want me to look over, I would be happy to do that. So this has been super fun. I'm glad y'all were here, and I want to do more of this stuff because I really love talking about these things and answering people's questions. So much love, Dreddle. Cool. Dreddle. Got it. All right. Much love, and I will see y'all next time. In stream. Here it is. Okay.